Hello and welcome to TVB News. Cyberport's computer system was hacked last year, leading to a personal data breach affecting some 13,000 people. The Office of the Privacy Commissioner for Personal Data has completed its investigation into the incident. The probe found that Cyberport had not taken sufficient measures to protect personal data against unauthorized access. Memo Singhai reports.
In August last year, Cyberport was attacked by a hacker group and lost about 400 gigabytes of personal data. The Office of the Privacy Commissioner for Personal Data today announced its investigation findings on the data breach incident. The office said the lost personal data included bank account and ID card details, which affected 30,362 people. Among them, more than 5,000 were job applicants and former employees of Cyberport. The report said the incident was caused by Cyberport's 5 deficiencies, such as the hub's failure to implement effective detection measures in its information systems and unnecessary retention of personal data. The office says some personal data has been kept for more than 7 years.
They only discovered the unnecessary retention of data upon the discovery of the data breach incident, and so they were unable to provide the reason for failing to delete the data in question, a contravention of the Personal Data Privacy Ordinance. Cyberport is a well-established organization that holds and processes a substantial amount of personal data of different individuals. Stakeholders and members of the public would reasonably expect Cyberport to allocate sufficient resources to ensure the security of its information systems and also the security of its data.
Cyberport said it has established a task force and updated its security information system. Where experts said the Cyberport data breach incident is a lesson for all companies and institutions.
Try to make more commit to check the systems inside the companies. That is the action number one for those companies or for every institution if they handle a lot of personal data. Responsible company, they need to do an ongoing, continuous space ongoing and continuous spaces monitoring, okay? And engage security solutions instead of just dependent on a single software.
A lawyer said individuals who have suffered because of violations related to the Personal Data Privacy Ordinance may be entitled to compensation.
The ordinance has a special stipulated injury to feelings is also included. Certainly, the difficulties would then be on how to quantify it. And quantify, for example, injuries to feelings, I think we need some sort of expert reports from the psychologists or psychiatrists saying that because of that incident, the subject has been suffering from certain distress, and that's one way of quantifying.
News 9, TVB News.
Since the demonstration scheme for the municipal solid waste charging program started yesterday, many residents are still having difficulties working with the scheme. Some residents said there is a lack of community infrastructure to support them. They pointed to a number of challenges they faced when disposing of food waste and are concerned that there will be more difficulties when the measure is fully implemented. Timothy Lee has more.
70-year-old Mrs. Tong is a resident of Anning Lao in the Moonlock Daha public housing estate in Chun Wan, which was selected as a site for the demonstration waste charging scheme. In an effort to comply with the measure, she decided to sort her waste in advance before bringing the garbage comprising plastic, glass bottles, and food waste to nearby recycling spots. It's okay since it's not too far, she said. The closest location collecting food waste is the Hongche Street Market, which is a more than 5-minute walk from Mrs. Tong's home. Her next stop was the Green at Low-Tech Court Recycling Store, which offers collection services for plastic and glass waste. Is another 5-minute walk. Mrs. Tong said a lot of her neighbors are in their 80s and 90s, and is worried that the long walk will be even more hazardous for them if it is raining. She noted there is a challenge regarding the disposal of food waste, given that she may not head to the recycling center each day owing to the variable amount of such waste. But she is concerned the waste will emit an unpleasant smell if she keeps it in the refrigerator overnight. Some local district councillors stress there is a need to improve education about recycling among the community.
而家可能佢都係習慣都係揾垃圾袋裝住攞去掉。
Chile District Councillor Xiaopeng said many residents have still not installed the mobile application necessary for scanning the QR code at the food waste collection centers. He added there needs to be more recycling stores for the sake of convenience as well as more relevant promotion. Several residents said they found the recycling measure confusing, citing a lack of clear guidelines from authorities. Many locals said they hope the government will offer clearer instructions to elderly residents on how to get to recycling stores and self-service procedures. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Yesterday was the last day of the Easter holidays. Authorities recorded close to 2.3 million Hong Kong residents leaving the territory over the course of 5 days. Most of them traveled to the mainland. The number of departures peaked at 700,000 last Friday. At least 240,000 left the city on the final day of the holidays yesterday. Meanwhile, only 1.9 million people entered the SAR over the same 5-day period, suggesting many residents would only return to the city after the Qingming Festival later this week. A lawmaker noted that his own retail business recorded a 27% drop in sales volume during Easter when compared with the figure 2 years ago. An Israeli airstrike hit a convoy of cars carrying aid workers from charity group World Central Kitchen, or WCK, killing 7 people. Those killed were 3 Britons, an Australian, a Polish worker, a dual U.S.-Canada citizen, and their Palestinian driver. WCK has delivered thousands of tons of food to Gaza since the war began, including 2 shiploads in March. The U.S. said it was heartbroken by what happened, while Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese called the incident unacceptable. Nazvi Karim with more.
Flak jacket bearing the World Central Kitchen charity logo. Passports of those killed. The charity's founder, celebrity chef Jose Andres, condemned the killing of 6 WCK workers and their Palestinian driver after their convoy was hit by an airstrike in a non-conflict zone in central Gaza. He called on Israel to stop indiscriminate killings. The group was traveling in armored cars emblazoned with WCK branding, having delivered 100 tons of food to a warehouse in Deir el-Balah. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese confirmed that one of the dead was 44-year-old Australian Zomi Frankham.
She was doing extraordinarily valuable work. This is someone who was volunteering overseas to provide aid through this charity for people who are suffering tremendous deprivation in Gaza. And this is just completely unacceptable. Australia expects full accountability for the deaths of aid workers, which is completely unacceptable.
Israel said it would conduct a thorough review of what it called a tragic accident. WCK and Spain's Open Arms Group have so far twice delivered food aid to Gaza via a maritime route from Cyprus. Hamas said the attacks were aimed at deterring agencies from delivering aid to Gaza, where more than 2 million people are facing starvation. In Gaza City, Palestinians were counting the cost of the Israeli military's 2-week raid on Al-Shifa hospital. Resident Basel al-Hilou said 7 members of the family were killed in an airstrike on the hospital, as he described swollen bodies that were left there for days. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken chaired a 2.5-hour virtual talk with Israeli officials on averting a full-scale offensive in the southern district of Rafah, where half the Gaza population are taking shelter. The aim is to wipe out remaining Hamas battalions while minimizing civilian deaths. Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
In the United States, a driver rammed his car into the front gate of the FBI office in Atlanta. The driver was arrested. NBC reports.
Tonight, a major security scare at the FBI field office in Atlanta when agents say a man driving this vehicle used it to try and force his way inside.
We can confirm a person rammed into the FBI Atlanta's front gate shortly after noon today. He was not associated with this facility.
The FBI says the driver tried to get past the security checkpoint by following an employee's vehicle inside, but the security barrier engaged and the suspect crashed his car into it. Officials say he then jumped out of the car and tried to run toward the building, but only made it a few feet before being tackled.
Several of our special agents who were passing by apprehended him. His motives at this point are not known. The suspect was taken to a local area hospital where he's being evaluated.
The suspect was never close to actually getting inside of the building, officials say, and note it's too early to tell whether this was a potential act of terror. Tonight, FBI officials are not releasing the name of the suspect and say no weapons were found inside the car.
And tonight, officials are considering both state and federal charges.
3 people were injured in a shooting in the South American nation of Chile on Monday, including a cameraman who was reporting on new security measures at the country's largest wholesale market. The violence occurred in the capital city, Santiago. A woman arrested for carrying a knife at the entrance to the wholesale market grabbed a gun from a private security guard and began firing, hitting and injuring 3 people. The 54-year-old woman was a regular in the area and could have been under the influence of alcohol, according to the prosecutor in charge of the investigation. The injured were taken to hospital, their injuries not life-threatening. Former Taiwan leader Ma Ying-jeou continued his visit to the mainland today. In Guangdong province, he made his first public speech of the current tour, saying he hopes Beijing and Taipei will have peaceful cooperation and avoid war. Ma and his delegation started the day by touring the headquarters of electric vehicle giant BYD in Shenzhen, accompanied by Song Tao, head of the State Council's Taiwan Affairs Office. In the afternoon, Ma went to the former residence of Dr. Sun Yat-sen in Zhongshan. Ma paid his respects to the late father of modern China by laying a wreath in the capacity of a former chairman of the Kuomintang Party. In his speech, Ma said many of Dr. Sun's ideas have been implemented in both the mainland and Taiwan. He added peace and prosperity are the biggest wishes of this generation of Chinese people. Since the enactment of local legislation on Article 23 of the Basic Law, there have been critical reports about the law in the Western media, saying it will damage freedoms and rights enjoyed in Hong Kong, making the SAR more like the mainland. Speaking on TVB's Straight Talk program, Executive Council member Ronnie Tong rejected the criticisms.
That is wholly untrue, because if you look at the Hong Kong national security law and you look at the current Safeguarding National Security Ordinance, both legislations provide express provisions that the provisions of the International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights, the Human Rights Convention, should be respected and applicable to both laws. Both laws also contain express provisions saying the rule of law principles would apply. Now, those two provisions in these two laws are not present on the mainland in relation to mainland national security laws. And that's the difference. The other difference is that we have a fiercely independent judiciary. And we are the only place on earth where we have foreign judges sitting on our Court of Final Appeal.
The Inland Revenue Department today issued about 220,000 profits tax returns, 120,000 property tax returns, and 310,000 employers' returns for the year of assessment 2023-24. On top of this, about 2.4 million tax returns for individuals will be issued on May 2nd. Taxpayers and employers are generally required to file their returns within 1 month from the date of issue of the tax returns. Taxpayers are encouraged to file their tax returns through e-tax electronic services. The e-tax services allow individuals to use the government's I Am Smart digital services to log in and sign the tax returns. That is the news. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.